Let me mention how the regime of Erdogan and his AK party, by the way, AK party, AKP, stands for, in Turkish, the Justice and Development Party. When you see those words, when you see that kind of a name, you know you're talking about a Muslim Brotherhood party, because that's what they all name themselves, including the one in Egypt. So under Mohamed Morsi. So Erdogan actually founded that party. Erdogan and colleagues founded the AK party. He is now president of Turkey, as I said, since 2014. But that party and his regime are openly allied with Hamas in Gaza, which is the Palestinian arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, facing off against our #1 democratic ally, the Jewish state of Israel. Now, after the Muslim Brotherhood got kicked out of Egypt and the Morsi government was taken down by a military coup d'etat and followed by, which was supported by millions of Egyptians, I should say, and then followed by elections which brought the current president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to the presidency. Many Muslim brothers had to flee out of Egypt, and they went in all different directions. But a bunch of them, along with Hamas leadership out of Gaza, found their new base of operations where? In Turkey. That's where they're operating out of, in Turkey. And they're the liaison for anti-Israeli cells, not just in Gaza, but in Samaria, in Hebron, which is in what would be called the West Bank. Shin Bet, the Israeli intelligence service, brought that to us and publicized it earlier this year. The purpose of this slide is just to show how closely the current Turkish regime of Erdogan collaborates with Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization, listed entity, terrorist group on the U.S. list, the foreign terrorist organizations list, and certainly a mortal enemy of Israel. Hamas's own charter actually says that Hamas is founded back in 87, 88, and operates and exists to annihilate, to destroy Israel. That's its own covenant. I should call it a covenant, by the way. Why? Because a charter is made between men, but a covenant is made between men and their deity, their divine. For Hamas, that covenant is made between them and Allah, and they are committed to it to carry that out. In any case, so there we have, that's Turkey. Now, I mentioned before how during the early years of the Islamic State's rise to power, that the Turkish government permitted fighters and weapons to cross over its territory and its borders en route to Syrian battlefields. And here we have a new report just this year, August of 2018, which is just a few months ago, where the Kurdish militias have reported that the Turkish intelligence service, MIT is the Turkish acronym abbreviation for the Turkish intelligence service, facilitated just what I just said, the passage of Islamic State fighters across its territory. And this is now confirmed by a fighter, an actual Islamic State fighter captured by the Kurds. Let me show you this photo here, which I think illustrates where Turkey is going these days. And this was during a summit meeting, I guess you might call it, earlier this year, April 2018, when the president of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, there in the photo in the white turban, and also the Russian President Vladimir Putin traveled to Ankara, the capital of Turkey, and met with Erdogan. He is looking for both of those countries' support for his continued military operations inside Syrian battle spaces. And especially the reason for that, as Turkey would see it, is to deny any Kurdish national aspirations. As people probably know, the Kurds are the largest nation of people on the face of the earth that have never had their own country, contiguous country. But instead, thanks to the great powers, Britain, France, yes, and the United States, they've been deliberately split up over all these years and kept separate, some of them in Turkey, some are in Iran, some in Iraq, some in what used to be called Syria. But anyway, Turkish objectives are certainly to keep it that way and never to allow them to have a nation. Last point here before we turn to bringing this story home to the United States is that in December of about a year ago, there was a meeting of the OIC held in Istanbul, Turkey, during which a senior Turk wrote an article in a Turkish daily, and by the way, if it's in a Turkish daily, it's approved. At least the daily newspaper is approved, the outlet is approved by the Turkish government. By the way, there are more journalists, flat out numbers of journalists in jail in Turkey right now than any other country on the face of the earth, including China. Think about that. In any case, that article in the government of Turkey's outlet urged OIC members to form an army of Islam to attack Israel. That's where the government of Turkey is these days. The only saving grace, if there is one to this story, is that there are so many internal rivalries in and among the members of the OIC that they'll never get together, well, we hope, right, to that purpose. The senior Turkish officials are openly talking about jihad. They're not hiding it, they're not mincing words, they're not couching it in any sort of other kind of diplomatic terminology. Here's January earlier this year, when the Speaker of the Turkish National Assembly, that's their parliament, called Turkey's military assault inside of, against the Syrian Kurds, openly called it jihad. He said, without jihad, there can be no progress. Well, what kind of progress is he talking about? What seems obvious is he's talking about progress towards reestablishing the Ottoman Empire. They've openly threatened Cyprus and Greece, both of these countries, of course, having been part of the Ottoman Empire for many centuries, obviously looking towards conquest there once again. Not only in the immediate area of the Middle East either. And so here we have Erdogan talking to large populations of Turkish people who first came into Europe, particularly into Germany and Austria after World War II, because labor was so badly needed for reconstruction. These workers were welcomed in, and they were called in German Gastarbeiten. Gastarbeiten means guest worker. Like, you're going to work for a while, earn some money, and then you, the guest, will go back home again to your home. Well, that didn't happen. They stayed, they brought their families. There are now millions of Turkish ethnic Turks in Europe, particularly Germany and Austria. So that's what Erdogan is talking about, and to whom he is speaking in this example from earlier this year again, when he's talking about a Muslim demographic wave overwhelming Europe, and he said, "You are the future of Europe." Some might say that future's already arrived. This is brand new, October 2018, just within the last few weeks. I found this on the internet, that a little bit blurry photo there of a security police car. That photo was taken on a street in Germany. That is a patrol car of a Turkish government anti-terror unit. You see the name of it here on the slide. That car and others like it are openly patrolling the streets of Germany where there are Turkish populations to, in effect, bring Turkish Islamic law, Sharia law enforcement to Germany. Thank you. Dankeschön, Frau Merkel. All right. There have been open threats against France. I'll skip through that, but it's more of the same, and you can see that there. All of this taken together fits with what Phil has talked about, and also Dr. Bill Warner has talked about, which is the Islamic imperative to conquest. And where does that come from? It comes straight out of the scriptures of Islam, meaning the Quran primarily first, the Sunnah. The Sunnah, of course, is comprised of two parts: the Sirah, the biography of Muhammad, and also then the Hadiths, which are the collected sayings and actions of Muhammad, and then, of course, the Sharia, the law itself. In any case, here's Erdogan saying, flat out, we're struggling so that a foreign flag won't be waved anywhere where the adhan, that is the call to prayer from the minaret of the mosque, is recited. Where does he get that from? He gets it straight out of the Quran, verse 839, fight them until persecution is no more and religion is all for Allah. What we're going to do is take a 10-minute break now to change out some of the technical arrangements here. A 10-minute break, and then I will come back and talk about Turkey's operations inside the United States with the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood. Stay tuned. 10 minutes. We'll be back.